AskReddit by Magic Fist to Bitcoin. What's one of life's biggest traps that people fall into? You gotta be your own advocate. If you think other people will fix the problems you have, you're gonna have a bad time. And it is okay to say no. I work in a nursing home and it's absurd the amount of people that I've seen burn themselves out because they feel obligated to pick up extra shifts or come in early, leave late when they're asked. You don't need a reason or excuse to say no. Also, take your allowed breaks at work. Take that time to decompress and your mental health will be better for it. I just say that I'm taking my break. I've stopped actually asking if it's okay. It makes it harder for anyone to object. Thinking too much of what others think of them or how they are perceived. I think this goes along with self-esteem, but I started feeling a lot better about myself when I let go of the fear of judgment. Do you have any kind of tips, books, podcasts, whatever you recommend? Thinking that you're running out of time to do something because someone else has done it already. I could absolutely shred guitar licks, of all genres, at age 17. I could play literally everything lead guitar wise, 10 hours a day practice sessions for 9 years and sacrifice grades, social life and all that comes with that. I gave it up when I heard Steve Vai live. It crushed me. Try as I might, there was no way I could do what he was doing. I couldn't get over it. Decades later, I realize I made a huge mistake. I was good and my entire philosophy was based on something outside of myself that I couldn't control. Don't make this mistake. Do you and put it out there because you like it. Never letting go of the past, that can kill you, I swear. Or more specifically, how things that happened have hurt. Letting go of the pain. It's not always easy, but it is a trap. Marrying or living with or otherwise committing to someone who is mean to you and doesn't treat you well. Sleepwalking into marriage or living together because it's time or nothing is really wrong. It's just not right. I've seen it unfold IRL way too many times. And I'm 43, and the first wave of divorces, second wave of marriages is in full swing. And while the window dressing differs on each of them, there are underlying realities in all the ones that don't work out. Sunk cost fallacy. Came to say this too. I stayed at a job for too long because I already put so much time and effort into it even though the salary was crap. I finally had enough and decided to leave, and I'm doing so much better financially, emotionally, physically. It's been 5 years since I left and sometimes I think what my life would be had I stayed, and it's just depressing. Looking back, leaving was one of my best decisions. Lifestyle creep. Feeling the need to upgrade cars, houses, jewelry, etc. to keep up with your peers. Yes. Lifestyle inflation is how people earning 100k plus a year life paycheck to paycheck. Doing nothing because of fear of rejection. Or its cousin, doing nothing because doing something limits your options. Just because you have spare money at the end of the month doesn't mean you need to spend it. Look at this guy, with spare money at the end of the month. Putting things off. We could do it more as kids because someone was there to pick up the slack, or stay on top of you to get something done. But as an adult, the consequences of waiting on stuff slaps you hard. Thank you, I was looking for this. A lot of windows open in life only to shut forever behind you once they've passed, and on top of that, you're also going to die one day. Seize the moment while you have it, because once it's gone, it's gone. I guess what I'm trying to say is, lol, YOLO. Caring what others think. You should to some extent, but doing it too much just destroys your self-worth and turns you into someone you are not. I get what you mean, and I agree with the sentiment. I'd reword it though to judging yourself by what others think, because caring about what others think is a good thing. That's basic empathy. But letting them tell you how to feel about yourself is definitely a bad place to be. Waiting too long for perfect, like the perfect soulmate, house, job, etc., and then letting too many good opportunities pass by. I have heard so many stories from people who have achieved the highest levels of success only to fall into the deepest depression of their life when they realize that even reaching their highest goals didn't fill that peace inside of them that was missing. It's like how any sports team that wins a championship is just grinding again at it the next year. Not saying that pursuing lofty goals isn't worth it, but as the saying goes, it's about the journey and not necessarily the destination. Not knowing how to use credit cards right. Edit. Didn't know this was gonna go crazy. I do have a YouTube video on how they can help and hurt you. https://yahoo.be/ko4edjavijc. Spend $5,000 and pay back minimum balance $10. No? Mama. I made it lol. Letting other people define success for them rather than defining it for themselves. We tend to compare our daily life struggles to someone else's highlight reel. We don't see the struggles they confront on a daily basis. We don't usually hear of the failures, only the good things. Cats showing their belly. I always fall into this trap and get scratched by my cat. No regrets. Working a job you hate because it pays well but you're miserable. Also on the flip side of that, quitting a job you hate and then falling into the trap of self-isolated comfort and not working. Spending more because you're earning more. For me, this one cuts both ways. Now that I'm making good money, I can afford to spend more on quality things. Recent example. 2 years ago I bought a $250 electric snowblower. It lasted 2 years. I could have bought another, but instead decided to spend significantly more on a high quality gas powered snowblower that will likely last me decades. If you're buying lots of junk you don't need though, yeah just don't. Debt. Regret. Fear. Fear of regret is what ruined me with debt. Having an elaborate expensive wedding that does nothing but stress everyone out and bankrupt you. Starting your marriage with debt is a terrible idea. Getting married, having kids because they think they have to, not because they actually want to. Every human should ask themselves, well before the moment they are facing the choice, if they want to have kids. I think so many people don't do it because they feel pressured, but because it's just what people do and it becomes the default choice. Or they haven't really decided and it just happens. Procrastination. Tomorrow is always the busiest day of the week. Procrastinating. Entrusting yourself to short-term benefits whilst shunning long-term goals will only serve to aid your downfall. The consequences to your actions can't be avoided forever. Comparing yourself to others. Comparison is the thief of joy. Imposter syndrome. The cure is eventually realizing no one has a clue. Amen. It's both frightening and relieving to discover how fucking incompetent most people are. Spiraling credit card debt. Multi-level marketing. Someone got me to go to a seminar and the rhetoric was what a lot of people want to hear about themselves for validation. Same as any other cult. Unfortunately for those who get sucked in. One of the biggest traps in life is not picking yourself up after a failure. Letting yourself go and sinking to the bottom. Depression will sink in and you'll start to lose everything. Extremely heartbreaking when you see someone you loved through this. They will stop caring and become suicidal, because they feel there is nothing left to live for. When in reality they still are alive and that's all that matters. The world isn't better with less people, it's better with people who adjust and live for the better. Deleted. Fear of missing out, FOMO. Fear of not measuring up. Bringing on self-decay due to comparing oneself to others. Believing that what people show you of themselves is true. It's rarely ever even close. Thinking your education was complete in HS or college. Failing to understand that your darkest secret, the one that holds you hostage, with shame, is the same thing everyone else struggles with. That which is most personal is most universal. Payday loans. Toxic relationships. People do them to try and fix people, but they just end up getting themselves hurt. Sunk cost fallacy. Stop staying in situations that make you unhappy. Leave. Free yourself. Listening too much to others and not enough to yourself. Remember that you're the one that has to live with you and your choices. Make sure you're happy with them. Eat it to fix typo. Alcoholism and drug abuse. Eventually getting high stops being fun, but you can't stop because your body is physically dependent on it. It sucks. And alcoholism is more people than anyone wants to admit. Staying in unhealthy relationships because I've put 10 years into this. I beg of you, know your worth, my loves. Always staying in your comfort zone. Trick question, I'm uncomfortable everywhere. Having kids, BC society said they should. Nothing against kids, parents, etc, but the pressure to have kids is immense from family and or religion and most areas cultures. More often couples have to explain why they chose not to, or couldn't have. I'm a nanny and I have met so many parents who have told me they regret having kids. Plus not that many people realize what a big toll having kids can be on someone's mental health and relationships. Especially if the kid has special needs or gets really sick. Simply graduating from college will guarantee you a nice paying comfy job. That's only a fairly recent change. Up until the 2000s, simply having a degree in literally anything meant a statistically very high chance of being able to land a nice paying job, even for people who were underemployed. Shit started going sour in the 80s, but in the 2000s, it went from manageable to completely out of control. Having children if you don't want them. Never let your family or partner talk you into having them if you know it's not for you. 100% this. I have a 1-year-old and I wouldn't expect anyone to have to care for what is essentially a really expensive drunken gnome if they didn't want to. By far the biggest, living in a complacent existence because it is rooted in a fear with something based around your self-esteem, change, open-mindedness and forcing actions, even minor such as taking a trip to a library, cooking a meal you haven't tried, or major like applying to a new job or trying to a new hobby involving other new people, are the method to staying youthful and most importantly, soulful. Complacency eventually hits a floor that isn't pleasant to yourself or others around you because you don't have much new insight, merit, or bright energy to offer. May sound general, but ask yourself, when was the last time you tried something for the first time? A food, a place, a book, a trip. Less complacency equals more soul. Internal thought. Modern life for Americans at least is about maximizing efficiency and never taking a day off or time to rest. Sure, this is fine if you're working towards something meaningful that enriches your life and others around you, but the issue is it's not for other people, it's not for progressiveness, it's for ourselves. Hate to use the S word, but society really does lead us into this pipeline of achieving vague concepts like money or success. During all this time, life is passing by right in front of people's eyes. You don't have to be a hippie or an prim or go on a spiritual journey, but people need to get out of their own heads, self-actualize and realize they exist in this world, cause a lot of people only experience life those 2 weeks out of the year on their annual vacation, and it's heartbreaking. Deleted. Addiction. The trap of having to complete things based on societal pressure. Like marriage, buying a house, having kids etc. all by a certain time. It's all bullshit, and I wish people would realize they can do things in their own time or not at all, and that's perfectly okay. Not being taught that it's okay to be wrong or mess up. Assuming people on the internet know what they are talking about. One of the biggest traps, I think, you think people can't turn on you or set you up for a fall for no reason at all. Social protocol. Low self-esteem. Addiction. Codependency. Dependency. Ignorance. Are you my therapist? If so, see you Monday, Helene. Thinking you have more time. Not appreciating the moments you're in. IMHO. Believing that life ends when you're 20, 30, 40 and you can't do anything but settle into family life for sap.